like an illness, collective illness, mental illness that's overtaken a significant section of humanity. Sometimes this happens. People go, not only individuals, but also collectives, they go through periods of insanity. And this is what we're moving into now, an area of great turbulence. The crisis point is also a great opportunity for moving out of the egoic state. It's been around for thousands of years and it's had its function, it's fine, but coming to an end now, it's self-destructing. The ego is about to self-destruct. And so we will experience a great reset, but not in the way it's been planned by certain groups or organizations. I thought they will be very surprised. It will be a very different reset from the one that they may be planning.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting point. He's right. There will be a reset, and it's not what people are thinking, because the powers that be are in charge of the world and its world situation, economics and social, and they've been working to basically manipulate and control the world for a long, long time. And it's just coming into the awareness of many people that this is actually happening, that behind the scenes have been these very powerful forces controlling the world. You know, they have a lot of different names, kind of like the Illuminati, the Masons, the Devil, Maya, different names for this kind of a sinister force that isn't very benevolent. It's more malnevolent. I can't pronounce it, but you know what I mean. Malnevolent, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's yeah, and so people are becoming more and more aware of this. And so Eckhart's point is, beyond the controllers of the world as it is now, and these wish I could say that word, but anyway, these kind of darker forces controlling the world, they're striving for a reset. But it's not like he says. It's not like they think, because deeper than their control is like a supreme control of the controllers. They call it subcontrollers. What's really nice, and I don't think Eckart has been able to take advantage more fully of the Vedic truths that come in this particular lineage. I know he takes advantage of the teachings in other lineages, but in this lineage, it's very, very clear that there's sub-controllers, and they call them the demons and the demigods. So if you look at Bhagavad Gita, is a real great insight into this. And Bhagavad Gita teaches there's these three modalities or modes of nature that are forces controlling the people in this world, and people are activated or act according to these various modes, or a mixture of these modes. And so, for example, there's modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And so sometimes the world, or even the universe, is more influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance as the predominant forces of control. And so we have these stories in the Vedas that teach about that sometimes there's dark times because of these dark forces, or they're competing with the forces of good. And so for a time, the forces of evil predominate and cause people to be pretty miserable, actually. And there's a lot of deception and slavery and manipulation and and lies being preached as often as truth. And so we're at a time like that, and this is becoming pretty obvious to anybody that has a little bit of intelligence. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see what's going on. Not everybody sees that. So I don't know if Eckhart could take advantage of the Vedas, he can even have a deeper perspective, because he's talking about now the destruction of the ego. And so this comes into the philosophy, what they call Mayavadi philosophy. and is the difference between Mayavadi philosophy and the deeper truths that are revealed with Bhakti philosophy that comes, or truth that comes from deep love for the source. And so, in this level of the Mayavadi philosophy, it's not very clear, and they only have half the truth, like his idea. And this is common in Indian tradition, is they teach about destruction of the ego. So they think by destroying the ego, then you'll transcend everything. But it's not even really clear, because if you notice, well, you may not notice in this video because it's very short, but in the teachings of those who are on this level, they have that partial understanding of truth. They teach it's all about destroying the ego. And then that's how you transcend it. It's a speculation. It's not really clear. But in the Vaishnava lineage, it's a really beautiful teaching that gets a more clear understanding about the ego. They call it, there's the false ego, and then there's the true ego. So right now, generally in this material level of consciousness, people are identifying with the false ego, and they develop all these personas and false identities with who they're really not. In some of the tradition, they call it, "You're not this body." A lot of people identify deeply with that they're this body. Some identify that their emotional state, their material emotions, and some people identify with the mental state, their mind, their thoughts, and like this. But those who are preaching in this level of what they call Mayavadi in our terms and lingo, this Mayavadi level, they teach, well, that's illusion. And in a sense, it is. It's actually temporary stuff. So they teach that that's an illusion, and you got to just obliterate that ego, that self. But what are you left with? You don't even know. See? So the Vaishnava lineage teaches, okay, there's the false ego, and here's the characteristics of the eternal ego. And actually going to see Russell Brand in the next part. He's going to start to talk about this because he actually has some roots and some connection with the Krishna teachings, which is in this lineage, and he starts to allude to that. And this can be more clear, and that's the purpose of this discussion, is to make it more clear about that. And what is the real ego? And here, we'll go into this now and see what he says, and then discuss this further.
Yes, I see, Eckart, now the significance of individual awakening and the impact that it can have on a culture, particularly as it is evident that there is a unitary force of some kind unfolding, unraveling, even as we speak, and that our individual foundation, having a foundation on the permanent rather than the impermanent, temporal and ever shifting, will be a great asset.
So yeah, you see, he's got a good sense of this, and he could take it. It can be taken further to get more clarity on this. So this is what he learned, obviously, by connection with Eastern philosophy and teaching. There's a eternal manifestation of consciousness, and that to be the foundation. And that's what I've been learning for so many years, is how to make my foundation spiritual, on spirit. And it can be very practical. You could use mantras. Certain mantras are sound vibrations that are manifestations of spirit in this world. This sound vibration is a very easy way to meditate and identify with the spiritual essence of who we actually are. And this is what this discussion is alluding to. It doesn't get that clear. We're helping to kind of get a little more clear about the subject, which is the point of having these discussions, so that we can get a really clear beat of what is this great reset that's really deep in the ultimate truth, and how to get our solid foundation in the real ego, not just obliterate the false ID that we've been identifying with, and then what are you left with? You don't even know. See, and so so the, the true identity is to learn how to purify consciousness and meditate on what is eternal. And so that's why on the path of Vaishnavism, and many paths use mantras and names of these spiritual, I don't want to say God because it's a loaded word, but a lot of times they use these names as this is a name of a god. And that's a very interesting, amazing subject. We can discuss this rationally too someday. Very interesting. But anyway, these mantras are very powerful to uncover the eternal in us, the eternal identity, the eternal ego, which is the foundation Russell is talking about to have, is to be like rooted in that. And when you have that, I mean, I'm not just talking about like some philosophy in the mind or anything. I followed this path for many years, and it works. It's really true. There is an eternal identity, and that eternal identity is not devoid of a body. It's not devoid of a mind. It's not devoid of emotions. Actually, within this body is a spiritual body that needs to be awakened. That's the true awakening, or the deeper awakening. You can have partial awakenings, which they're talking about, but the deeper awakening, you can actually get into that now. You just need knowledge. See, this path has the knowledge of the deeper awakening. So the deeper awakening is we have a spiritual body, we have a spiritual emotions actually, and we have a spiritual mind, and that's all eternal. This would 99.9% of humanity do not understand this to a deep extent, but they could if you make the right connection in the lineage. That's what I did in the early 80s. I made a connection with this lineage that taught me about how to meditate on spiritual mantras that represent the spiritual state of existence. And it's an amazing thing. I don't want to go too much into this at this time because it's a very deep subject, but that's the gist of the things. And we'll have a part 2 about this here. Well, actually, let's hear a little bit more what Russell has to say here.
As these transitions continue to occur. And to your point earlier, Eckart, this is precisely why I believe I've been drawn again, as I was once earlier in my life, into the concept of activism and critiquing power structures, because the function of our channel is to articulate the connection between individual awakening, collective action, and our ability, when unified, to challenge current power systems and create new systems based on this true foundation.
Okay, so that's interesting. Well, let's go with that a little bit more, because so he's saying awakening is very important, and to the point where you're understanding like what's going on here, how we've been manipulated and cheated and all that stuff, and then to form a collective of aware people and challenge this system. Personally, I don't think it's going to work, not very well, because there's a lot of violence involved, and by the fact that this has been in preparation for many centuries, actually, for this takeover of the darker forces in the world. And they have all kinds of technologies. They, one energy weapon can take out thousands of people now. They have energy weapons in the sky and satellites. They're already showing it. They're controlling the weather now. All kinds of powerful things, and many people have taken that, like that, and they're going to have severe health problems and pass away probably. So there's a lot of things that make that an impractical solution. But the solution of awakening is very powerful, because actually, if one awakens to the deepest level of who they are as a spiritual being with spiritual emotion, spiritual mind, and are centered in that foundation, then there is no need for the things that are going on now. Okay? Maybe the masses will be in this hurricane of events, but whoever does make this transition into their spirituality, their spiritual nature, will not be affected. Their physical body might, because of being around. Nuclear bomb go on, it goes off. But they've attained the ultimate goal of life, which is to know who we are. Really, that's really the essence. All this stuff going on with these people attacking each other and making people miserable and everything can actually help bring you closer to this truth. Because now people are looking at alternatives like, okay, all right, I don't, they're starting to lose trust in the government. They thought the government was trying to help them, but now the government has turned against them. And the government has always been trying to keep them weak. This is what it does. This is the darker forces have been in control of this material world or universe for a long time now. Okay? So, so the solution is transcending the whole problem, and you can do that individually, and then you can help others transcend. Also, that's the basis of what we do in our Lord Chaitanya's Amazing Grace Place teaching, is to help others transcend, which we've already done. Many have also transcended this and are living in their spiritual, eternal ego, not false ego, eternal ego state of having tremendous, wonderful spiritual feelings on the level of the saints, like raptures and ecstatic blisses and everything. We're meant to live in that state with the emotional state, that is a blissful, ecstatic, rapturous emotional state. We have people that are making that transition, and a spiritual mind meditating on truths that last forever. See, and then you're not manipulated by the temporary productions of the dark forces are always trying to get us to meditate on things that are very deeply in the physical realm, like, oh, you see, that's a black body, that's a white body, and you should hate the white body or hate the black body, or vice versa. There's so many other divisions being created by identification with our bodily skin colors, and or this person is following this politician and that one, creating divisions, and you side with one against the other, and they end up hating each other. This is a very dark level, a very, very dark level of consciousness, very slow vibration. Ultimately, when we're in our spiritual consciousness, we feel the unity and how everything is working. This is what Eckart is talking about, is there's a deeper reset that's beyond the plans of those who are in charge of this world now. They don't know this because their consciousness is down also. It's because of the way they live in this world, the karmas they create and everything, by being, against their fellow man and very selfish and egotistical. And, anyway, this is coming to light. So we'll go a little bit deeper on this a little bit later. So thank you, Russel, and thank you, Eckart Tolle, for sharing your wisdom. And I hope this is a contribution to figuring this all out, so that we can all be more, connected and happy and blissful. And yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you very much. See you soon.